interesting topics to kick off your weekend. Looking at the news with an eye of faith. This is Friendly Fire with Stu Kerns on the voice of Lincoln, 1499.3 KLIN.
Good Saturday morning. It's a Friendly Fire Saturday. Stu Kerns, your host. Glad to have you along. It is an exciting day. And I know it's really exciting because there's another episode of Friendly Fire. That's always very, very exciting. I'm sure it is to you as well. But you know what we're talking about, right? It's Husker football. They're in Ireland. It's going to be, I don't even know what time it is there. I think it's like 6:30 p.m. is the game or something there. But you can listen to everything, including pregame, right here on the Voice of Lincoln, 1499.3 KLIN. If you know anything about me, I'm a huge Husker fan. Do I think we're going to win? Of course I think we're going to win. I think we're always going to win. But I used to be, it's funny, when I was a child, I was right about 90% of the time. Now I'm wrong about 90% of the time. So that's okay. We're going to turn this thing around, and it's going to start in Ireland. We have a shortened version today of Friendly Fire because of that pregame. So just stick right where you're at. Pregame's going to come right after Friendly Fire at 7:30. But today I wanted to do an episode about a program that is very, very near and dear to my heart. And I bump into people all the time who don't know about it, and I want you to know about it. I think it's one of the secret weapons in Lincoln. It is, I'll just say this, I think it's valuable enough that I volunteer my own time to be a part of it. And it's something called Foodnet. And I've got two of the board members from Foodnet today to talk about that, Leia, Noel, and Beverly Kettleson. Welcome to Friendly Fire.
It's great to be here this morning.
Thank you, Stu.
Yeah, you bet. That's the voice of Leia and Beverly. And let's just start with a really basic question. Just what is Foodnet?
Well, Foodnet is an organization that is actually a charitable organization, and we basically pick food up from grocery stores and restaurants, the food that's donated, and we give it to anyone in need. Yeah, and so anyone can come.
So anyone can come. You don't have to show any reason or cause. You just show up, and there's food for everyone.
Yes, a lot of times you don't. You maybe have to sign in, but we're just wanting information for our record. We're basically wanting numbers, but you don't have to meet an income guideline or a certain number of people in your household to qualify.
Yes, yes.
And we basically keep food out of the landfill. That's what I like about it.
Yes,
we don't throw things away.
And
we actually have a farmer that picks up all of our leftover things that we don't want to give to our clients.
And then we jokingly call it the chicken box. I don't know if they really go to chickens or not, but is that what you call it?
Well, just
animals.
Animals.
The animal box.
Yeah. So basically, at the end of the day, we might our drivers might come with a pickup load of food, and at the end of the day, there's really very little that isn't given away. Obviously, we get the leftovers to animals. We recycle the cardboard, and there's nothing or very little going into the landfill. So we're really proud of that.
That is awesome. Now, the listeners might think, well, don't they do this in every community? But this is something that was it back in the 1980s? And I have yet to, I don't bump into a lot of communities that do this. What is, there was something called the Good Samaritan Law that helped make this possible. Could you explain that real briefly?
Yeah, well, just how Foodnet got started was in 1985. There was three guys who wanted to help people, and he was noticing, especially Frank Marsh, he was noticing that food was being thrown away, and people were digging it out of the dumpsters and kind of fighting over it. And Frank just really had it on his heart to serve the community in a more dignified way.
Yeah, yeah.
And so these three gentlemen, Frank Marsh, Pastor Gil Visser, and Pastor Lincoln Justice, said, let's see what we can get started. And so they started contacting churches and sending out if there was anyone interested in helping distribute food. And so that's when Foodnet was born. Yeah. And it really hasn't changed much since 1985. In 1990, there was the Bill Emerson Good Samaritan Act, and that is law that protects businesses when they give to a charitable organization. Then that business is not liable, for any lawsuits or whatever. And it just protects that organization to give food to charitable organizations so that food is not wasted.
Yes.
And Stu, you're so right. I'm so proud to be part of Foodnet because, this is a community that Foodnet has been going 37 years.
Yeah.
And I know that has been a popular thing, maybe in the last 5 years or more. But that other communities around the United States is, trying to get a handle on food waste. But Lincoln has been doing it for 37 years.
That is so cool.
I think we're really leading. I'm really proud of that.
I just want people to do it other places.
Yeah.
It's a community too. When I first went as a client to Foodnet, that was in 2006, and my parents moved in with me. And they were elderly, over 80, and didn't have a lot of income. My daughter, Kathy, told me her grandparents were volunteering over at about 70th and A Street. And it was just for anybody. So it was kind of like Christmas. Dad would pick up the food, bring it. Mom would go through the boxes, and she was so excited about the food they got.
Yeah. I love that because it is a community too. That's something that I've experienced with our Foodnet site is that you really get to know the people, and you share the burdens, and you pray for each other, and all those kinds of things that you would, that you wouldn't necessarily expect just from a food program. Is that your experience, Beverly?
That is. My dad was very outgoing, and he met a couple of gentlemen. And then he went to another Foodnet later, and the same gentleman was there. And it just was so good for him to get out, not knowing anybody in Lincoln, because they were from Waback, Nebraska.
Well, I have to look that up on the map. I'm not sure where that is. But so how long have you been on the board, Beverly?
Just recently.
Ah.
Was that when we had our December elections, I think.
You're about eight months on, so yes.
All right. Leia isn't overworking you yet here, is she?
No, she hasn't.
No.
She's making me nervous, though.
Oh well.
I'm vice president. She keeps threatening that she might not show up for a meeting.
Well, there you go. That's a pretty good threat. That's good. Well, Leah, how did you first get involved in Foodnet? Because now I would not be involved in Foodnet if you weren't involved in Foodnet, and so I have a hint of how I know when we got started, but I really don't know how we got started.
Yeah. Well, my children, I had one child, and was trying to be a stay-at-home mom, and we were having a garage sale at my sister's home, and the neighbor said, I know you're working hard at a garage sale. How about I bring you lunch? And so she brought over bagels and yogurt for lunch, and I'm like, wow, can we pay you for this? This is awesome. And she said, no, this was given to me by Foodnet, and I thought, you know what, this really is going to help me as a family and allow me to feed my family well. And so I went the next week to the Foodnet site, and then the coordinator at that site was retiring, and so the idea was presented to me to start a Foodnet site at my church, and so I got approval to do that, and we've been going ever since. Just had the support of our church and the volunteers at our church and the community, and we've continued on.
It's interesting to me that a lot of people. We're going to take a break in just a minute, and when I come back, I want to just describe what a typical Foodnet session is like when you're from the very beginning to the very end. Because a lot of times people. Now what do you do and how does it work? And they're confused by it. But my experience is, again, it's very straightforward. It's simple and it's joyful. It's good to be mixing with people and to see people. Every time I think of all this food used to go into the dump, the landfill. That is so wrong. So we're going to take apart the nuts and bolts when we come back. Does that sound good?
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, let's do it. Talking to Leia, Noel, and Beverly Kettleson here from Foodnet. And I love this program. I want you to love it, too. I want you to know about it. So we're going to take it apart here in just a moment. It's a Friendly Fire Saturday here on the Voice of Lincoln, 1499.3 KLIN.
Keeping the topics lively and the conversation civil. This is Friendly Fire with Stu Kerns on the Voice of Lincoln, 1499.3 KLIN.
We are back. It's a Friendly Fire Saturday. Stu Kerns, your host, talking with Leia, Noel, and Beverly Kettleson of Foodnet. And before the break, we were talking about, I even experienced this at our site. We're trying to get new volunteers and people involved. They're like, well, I don't know, what exactly do you do? Beverly, at your site, if they came right at the beginning, what would be the kind of things that that a volunteer would be doing?
Well, our job starts almost the day before.
Okay.
But if someone wanted to come to our site new and volunteer, 4 o'clock in the afternoon on Thursdays is about when we start unloading our refrigerators and putting the food on the tables. So 4 o'clock and we put food on the tables, and by 5 o'clock we're ready for the clients to start walking through and picking up what items are available to them. And it goes crazy for about a half an hour.
Yeah.
And 45 minutes maybe even, depending on how many we have, which is probably close to 90 clients that come through our Foodnet site, and they pick up things that are on about 6 different tables around the room.
What are the kind of things, by the way, that, because people think, oh, okay, whatever, maybe some bread and some donuts and things like that, but what kinds of things do people get at Foodnet?
We get all sorts of vegetables that I don't even know what they are.
Yeah.
Radishes and sweet corn and, of course, those things, but what is it?
Yeah,
Kohlrabi.
Yeah. So like the perishable produce and breads and sweets.
And we even get some frozen meats.
Okay. Dairy, deli, so just a variety. You know, like Beverly mentioned, it is Christmas, but we don't ever know what we're going to get for Christmas. So it's you can't always come expecting, oh, I'm going to have my grocery list and here it is and this is what I'm going to get. Yeah. It's really whatever the grocery store or business is donating, that is what we are getting.
Yeah. Now there's some crazy expensive stuff sometimes. I mean,
exactly. Sometimes we'll break down the packages if it's like you say, crazy expensive, like $25. We'll put it in a smaller container. We use plastic, reusable containers for that. Yeah. But I would say we've even had coffee. Canned goods, and it's just a variety of things, and we try to organize it. And so by 6 o'clock, we're done, and then cleanup starts. That takes about a half an hour. So if someone wanted to come at 4 o'clock, stay till 6:30, that would be wonderful.
So that's important to know. It isn't going to be, it's similar at our site.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that the volunteers are our lifeline, I guess, to seeing that this organization runs as it does, because we have probably a base of 500 volunteers between the 18 Foodnet sites that are in our community and surrounding communities. And so a volunteer can do a number of things. Sometimes we just have somebody who just wants to drive and do some pickups for us. And we ask them to use their own vehicle and their own gas. And that is a real gift to the community, to be that person who volunteers.
Yeah.
And we don't get paid. We're not paid volunteers in any way. Everybody does this free will.
Yes, which is amazing because we were trying to estimate the amount of the retail value of the food that gets distributed in the course of a year. And I know it's hard to put a real specific number on it, but I'll just put it this way. I know the site that I pick up at, which, hey, let's give them a plug, Trader Joe's.
Yeah.
they put a sign in there. They say that they give away about $400,000 worth of food every year. That's just one site. So if you multiply that out, I have a hard time believing that there isn't probably maybe over $3 million worth of retail food that probably gets distributed over the course of a year. And the administrative, since it's volunteer-based, what are your administrative costs?
Well, it's hard to, put an exact number, but I am easily going to say it's less than $5,000 a year that we operate Foodnet. And we're serving, if you check our website, it's about 150,000 people.
Wow.
And we don't feel real confident in our numbers through COVID. We know that we actually probably served more. Yeah. But we know that if we put a dollar amount or a cent amount by the number of meals we served, it's very minimal. Yes. And so, again, that's the power of volunteering. That's the power of a community that is going to back us up with donating food. Yes. I mean, if we didn't have the community support, there wouldn't be Foodnet.
Yes, yes.
So
so you mentioned 18 sites. So this started out of Frank Marsh's garage, and now there are 18 sites. So I'm assuming there's at least one or two for every day of the week then. Is that right?
That is true, yes.
We have at least two. Yeah, we have
at least two?
Crete, Denton, Milford, and Seward, as well as just here in Lincoln.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that is amazing. Now, what's the incentive for the stores to participate in this? If there is an incentive, other than just doing a good deed and not throwing away decent stuff into the dumpster.
Well, they can, they are the ones who are responsible for, getting the information down for them, and they can take a tax credit, I suppose. And so that is, I guess, the biggest incentive is for them to be able to take a tax cut. And
a tax cut on stuff that would have gone into a dumpster.
Yes.
By law. Which is now one of the things that people have said, okay, but it's close to expiration date and so forth. But it seems to me like, again, you guys are very wise in the way that you deal these things, and there are a lot of refrigerators involved and all that kind of stuff. I've never heard a report of somebody eating something bad and getting ill. For all the meals that have been served, it seems like that's a pretty rare occurrence. Is that right?
Right. I think it's a very rare occurrence. I explain to our clients before they pick up the food, they should use it today, at least in this week, because it is either expired on the date or close to being expired. But we've gone through this food and we have put the bad stuff in a bucket for the animals. Yes.
Yeah. Now, once in a while, you really hit the jackpot. I know there were, we had, I don't know who donated the hams, but we had all kinds of hams last year at one point. What if you think back through the years, what's the jackpot been once in a while? Just something really unusual that came through.
Well, meat is something that we don't see a lot of, and we know that it's an expensive item, and we also know that it's an item that it's profit going out of the door. So I know that if a store sells it, we want them to sell it. But sometimes, other product is coming in, so they have to keep the inventory moving. And so they're very generous in donating. So definitely meat. I know that we have had just large amounts of recently a store in town, the electricity was off, for a short time, but that business felt like they could not, in good faith, sell that as, top of the line product. Yep. And so all the sites got frozen and fresh items. And that was really wonderful because it was in the summertime and sometimes our donations are smaller. And so it really filled in the gaps. So I'm sure that was thousands of dollars worth of products. We're so grateful for that.
I remember going to one site as a client, and they were raffling off turkeys. It was about Thanksgiving time, and I was lucky enough to win a free turkey.
Isn't that something?
That was pretty good.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. Just less than a minute left here. The website, if people want to learn more, the website is
foodnetlincoln.org.
All right, foodnetlincoln.org. So whether it's driving or whether it's volunteering, or I always say it's kind of like playing grocery store when you were a kid. You know, everybody played store, and they sorted all the food out, and they did that. And so there's setting up of tables and sorting of food, and then the fun of just giving away the food, and meeting new people. We've actually had people join our church from Foodnet. So it's a pretty sweet deal. Yeah. I just want to personally thank both of you. Thank you, Beverly. Thank you, Leia, for leading this work. It's I just think it's so valuable, and I appreciate you helping make it happen every day of the week. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Stu.
Thank you, Pastor Stu.
You bet. I leave you saying today, as I always do, to think about it and talk about it, and go Big Red. We'll see you next week.